Great, thank you. Thank you, Angel, and thank you everybody who is currently on this call. I appreciate your interest in QGIS and the QGIS plugin. So the source for this plugin goes back to probably my interest in redistricting from when I was in law school during the last redistricting cycle. And then in 2017, I have a couple friends who are Australian who are trying to do reapportionment in Australia. And they said, we love QGIS, but we still have to use map info to do reapportionment for Australia. And that's the only thing we use map info for. Otherwise, we would use QGIS for everything. And I thought, well, QGIS needs a good redistricting plugin. The US Redistricting Cycle is obviously currently going on at the moment. And so with that in mind, I wanted to show you how to use the QGIS plugin. So the difference between this plugin and other tools that you might be familiar with, such as Dave's Redistricting and Districtor, is that this is an offline tool, whereas those tools are online. Because this is a desktop tool, there is a little bit more of a learning curve because you can provide any data that you like. Unfortunately, the Redistricting Data Hub has all of the data that you'll need to use, and I have gone ahead and downloaded a sample data set from Connecticut from Haystack DNA using population projections that we'll be using today. So this is the first time you launch QGIS. It should look something like this. You'll have your layers panel. If you don't see the layers panel, you can find that in the view panels layers. That will be important. And I'm assuming that you haven't used QGIS before. So one of the things that you should do right away if you want to use the plugin is actually install the plugin. And so I currently have the plugin installed, but if you don't have the plugin installed, go to Plugins, Manage and Install Plugins, and then it will show up, the plugin menu will show up and will list all of the available plugins that you can download for QGIS. So I believe this is under the Stato Redistrictor, QGIS version 3. You just check the box and then download that. The other one that I really like is the Open Layers plugin, which we'll also be using. And what this does is it allows you to overlay your state onto OpenStreetMap or Google Maps, and really helps you figure out what exactly you're doing in terms of programming, or not programming, creating a map. So again, just to click on the checkbox to install, and then
John, just 1 second. It looks like you're just moving around a blank screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me. Looks like I'm going to have to do that for all the dialogues, which is annoying. So this is the plugins dialog, and I scrolled down earlier when I thought the plugins dialog had been displayed and clicked on the Stato Redistrictor. This will install the plugin, and then the other one that we'll be using today is the Open Layers plugin here. You can search and install, and it's all fairly easy to do. So now we'll go back to
Sorry to interrupt again. I think if you share like the whole desktop instead of just the QGIS, it might work that way.
Okay, let's try that.
Sorry, everyone.
All right, so now I'm sharing the desktop. And now we've got the plugin installed, we've got Open Layers installed, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is add the data to the map. So right now, there's no data that we have loaded. I do have a sample data set loaded and currently invisible in the Layers menu, but you won't have any data sets. So I'm assuming that you've downloaded the data from Redistricting Data Hub, and that you've unzipped it and then it's ready to go. And the way that you add a layer to the map is go to Layer, Add Layer, and then Add Vector Layer. And it will pop up. You can add any types of data sets that you like to the map. It doesn't have to necessarily be the shapefiles from Haystack or from Redistricting Data Hub. There you've got lots of different options, but for the purposes of redistricting, you just download the data and then make sure it's vector, go to vector data sets and click on the three little dots, and then click on your data set and then click the add button. And what this does, adds the layer to the screen. There's lots of components to the layer, so it's not instantaneous, and that's why you see it sort of popping in and out. So we'll remove the dummy layer. And then the other thing I like to do is go to Web menu, Open Layers Plugin, and then add the OpenStreetMap layer. And you'll see that loaded on top of the layer that we want to redistrict. So go to the Layers panel and then just move that up so that it's now on top of the OpenStreetMap layer. So the next thing we want to do is we want to look at what the data source has. And this is sort of the setup. This is not something that you have to do with the online tools, but it is something that you have to do if you're using the desktop. And it's to look to see what attributes are currently on the data set. So I just right-clicked on the layer panel, and I'll go to Open Attribute Table. And it's currently loading. There's lots of features. Great. Can you see that? Can you see the attribute window?
Yes.
Great. And so what this is this is the data set behind the map layer. And you can see that there's lots of different columns here in the dozens. And what we're looking for is the column that contains the population field that we want to use for redistricting. So what this is the population projection file for Connecticut from Haystack. So it has population projections by year and then the total. And then it has it listed out by different ethnicity groups. So what we're going to be wanting from this particular file is to use the projected 2020 total. And so I just accidentally sorted it. And we also want to look to see what geographies are on the file. So we've got state, we've got county, we've got the census tract, and we've got the block ID, and we've got the full geo ID. And this is going to be important as soon as we start redistricting. So go ahead and close that for now. And to open the plugin, just click on the icon that should appear on your panel. If it doesn't appear, you can go up to Plugins, Status Software Redistrictor, and it should appear. And then the QGIS Redistricting Tool panel will appear. And at the start, you can't do anything yet because we haven't loaded the plan. So now we're going to create a new plan and click on Plan Manager and then create new plan. And so this plan name will be Connecticut Redistricting, Congressional Redistricting. And we only have one vector layer open. So the layer to district should match the name of the layer over on the left. That's correct. There are 5 districts in Connecticut, last I checked. So we're trying to reapportion 5 districts. And the population field is the P20 total. That's the field that we just saw from the attribute table. And if you wanted to do 2021, 2022, all of that information is here. But for now, the main population field that we're going to be using is the P20 total. Equal population tolerance. So this is simulating a congressional redistrict. So the equal population tolerance should be 0%. For the purposes of this training, I'm going to increase it to 3%. And what this does is the attributes will light up green when you're within the tolerance, showing that you have basically created a successful district that will pass legal muster in terms of whether it's equal population. It can be rather hard to do at 0. Optional second population field, you probably won't need this. This is actually for countries which use both current population and future population when they redistrict. So basically, if there's going to be a development that takes place in a suburb of, I think it's Australia, then that gets included into the redistricting as well, even if it's not built yet. Doesn't really matter for US redistricting. And then our district field, on the data, there is no field for the district, so we'll create a new field. If you're using data that you've downloaded from somewhere else, say Dave's or Redistrictor, and that you're importing, you will probably have a district field. And this is basically just the column that our district data will live in. So just clicking create new field, you see that there's the software automatically creates a new column on the data set. And then you can create as many optional data fields as you like. So let us take a look at the sum of projected African-American voters in each district. And you've got several different options here. If you want to look at percentages, the percentage of the total population of the state, the percentage of that particular field. And then finally, the last thing is the create map styles from districts. This will automatically create a map for you, which has all the different colors for the different districts. So click OK. And it takes a couple seconds to initialize. You can see down here, it's telling you what it's doing. And we are good to go now that we have the parameters loaded for our redistricting, and we can begin redistricting. So you can see over here on the left, each district has a different color, and those colors appear again over on the right. And what I'm going to do next is simply do something that I like to do, which is right click on the layer, go to properties, and go to layer rendering, and change the opacity to 50%. This means that we can see the layer, the OpenStreetMap layer underneath the layer that we're currently redistricting. So the way that we redistrict now, there's several different ways to do it. I'll show you the first one. Basically, the QGIS has lots of different features, and the only ones that are really important for redistricting are the select tools. So you can select areas by polygon, by freehand, by radius, which draws a circle. You can also select by attributes if you are trying to do something very specific. And you can also deselect. And these three icons on your panels. It might appear in a different location when in your QGIS, but these are what they look like. So we'll just start by selecting an individual feature here. And this just clicks on one at a time. And we'll assign this to District 1. And the active district currently in our redistricting panel is District 1. And so what we'll do is we'll click on Update Selected Polygons. And wait for just a second, and that will be assigned to District 1. So we can see that that particular census block has 114 people in it. It's still 99.9% away from our target standard deviation, percentage deviation, and that there's one projected African-American person in that particular census block. Now that is a very simple way of selecting a block, but obviously you're going to want to select many more blocks at a time. So go to select features by polygon, and instead of selecting only one feature at a time, you'll be able to select by drawing and clicking. So as you can see, I am currently selecting all of the features in the polygon that I just drew, and go back up to update selected polygons. And wait for a second. And you can see that we have now assigned all of these features to the first district. And we're getting a little bit closer. We've still got a long ways to go in terms of getting this to a place where we'll have an equal population district. So the other way that, and this is the way that I use the most, is when we were looking at all of the different geography fields in our data set, the Geographic Selection field lets you select similarly situated columns. So I'm going to select the county column, and then I'll click Select by Geo button, You can see that my cursor has turned into a little cross. And so I will click on any district and wait for a second. And you can see that every single census block in this particular county has now been selected. And you can also do this by tract or by block number, although block number is a little bit dangerous because you might select different parts of the map simultaneously. But you can use the GeoID to get the actual census tract. And then we'll go to update selected polygons. You can see that it's updating the features down below, and now it's updating the population table. Unfortunately, because this is programmed in Python, it's not quite as fast as I would like it to be. But you can see that we now added the entire county to the first district and that we are way over our target. So we have to lose 231,000 voters in order to hit our target population. Our target population is displayed up here, 721,654 people, and then our tolerance is 700 to 743,303. So let's select by tract, and let's actually change the active district to the second district. You can also find, click find, and it will select the active district for you. I clicked on a district that didn't have any districts assigned, so it went to the center of the earth at 0, 0, so I apologize about that. And you can also select districts on the map by clicking. So if you click on that district, it will change it to that active district. And you've also got an erase tool, which will set the active district to 0 or null. And anything you will assign will return to the unassigned. But for now, let's change this to active district 2. I'll click the deselect button and then try to start assigning census tracts to the second district. So what I've done is I click select by geo, and now I'm just clicking once on the map and waiting for it to select all of the blocks in that census tract. And now we will assign them to the second active district, click update select polygons, wait, and we have now assigned those to the second district. There's some other features that you should like to use. So adding these 3 tracts to District 2 is something we'll probably want to do because we still need to get the population in the first district down, but you can preview how that will work. So if you click the update selected polygons now, District 1 will have 909,000 people roughly, and District 2 will go up to 44,000 people, which is a change of 14,000 voters and gets you closer to your target. Display visible districts only didn't seem to work properly there. I need to look at that. So if you've got a lot of districts, this is designed for instance, I made a legislative map of Virginia, which has 100 districts, and District 17 is next to District 42. So clicking that should bring up only 17 and 42 and any other districts that are currently visible. Not sure why that didn't work. I will definitely take a look at that. Flood select lets you select. So I've just clicked on the second district, and even though all of the polygons in there are now selected, what that did is it basically said, give me every single census block that has the same district value as the one I clicked on. And what I use flood select for is frequently when you are trying to break things up, you can easily miss little slivers. And flood select lets you click on a sliver and all of the little slivers are in that will be selected, and then you can adjust those to the district that you like. You can also undo your last update. So there's lots of little features. The toolbox, you've got several options. You can export the redistricting attribute table to CSV, which is great if you're trying to create reports. You can create a label layer instantly, or almost instantly. So if you're trying to create a print map, you can click on the create label layer and it will automatically label all of your districts for you. fixed enclaves will find all of the little places that you may have missed and assign them to the district that surrounds them. Different types of plans might use A, B, C, or D instead of 1, 2, 3, or 4. Or in the case of foreign countries, they will have, or countries foreign to the United States, electorates will actually have names, and you can assign the names as well. You can select any feature that isn't currently assigned, although that's was a very old feature that I haven't removed. You can easily do that now by selecting an unassigned district on the map. And then if you've made manual changes to the file, basically if you've done any editing of the attribute table manually, you can click that and it will refresh the attribute table. And then you can also export crosstabs. So there's lots of interesting features for you in this free plugin, and would now like to open the floor to any questions. So there's a question in the chat box. Will quick map services work as an alternative? I believe I haven't used quick map services, but the point of open layers is to create a layer that will display underneath the file that you're using. If quick map services does that, like if it provides a Google Maps layer or an OpenStreetMaps layer, then that's perfect. But I'm not personally familiar with that plugin.
All right, if we don't have, oh, there's another question.
The question is, could you use the second population field to help draw majority-minority districts? I believe you could, but what the second population field really does is try to enforce a second deviation on every single field. So it's not really designed for the US. It is something that you could use if you were trying to get a specific district perfect. It's something that you could be able to use, but it will not make everything green necessarily. So there's another question in the chat box. And the question is, when extracting the plan, does the toolbox aggregate the fields? So if you're using the CSV tool, I believe, I'd have to double check this, but I believe it will export the attributes table as you see it on your screen. So to share the screen again. So I believe it will, whatever is in this box will be exported to the CSV table. It's possible that if you have additional fields that they're not exported, but I believe that has been built in. I haven't exported in a while, so I apologize that I can't give a completely confident answer on that one. So there's another question. Is there a way to track changes or save version history of a plan in QGIS? And currently the quick answer is no, but you can create multiple district fields on the same plan. And so for instance, if you knew what you were doing, you could basically create forks of your plan by going to the attribute table, which is loading. So the district table, or the district column, is all the way over to the
Sorry, John, we
right.
can't see the attribute table.
Oh, I did it again, didn't I? Apologies. So the way that I would do this if I wanted to create a fork of the map that I'm currently using is to open the field calculator, create a new field, district 2, and then the expression is district, which is the name of our original district. And then you wait. And wait some more. Here we go. It took longer than I thought it would. But yes, there's no easy way to check changes or do version history, but there you can fork. So now that that's finally worked, you can see that District 2 is equal to District, and then you can simply create a new plan using District 2. It may be something that I could add in going forward. All right, any other questions?
All right, since it doesn't seem like there are any other questions, again, if you, John, did you have like a place if folks did have questions they can reach you, or?
Sure, there's several different ways to get in touch. The current website is at QGIS There should be a contact form there. The project is also on, I believe it's GitHub, and if you have any issues or questions, you can get in touch through GitHub. And if you have any feature requests or questions, please get in touch. I try to be responsive, and one of the reasons why this plugin works the way it does is because of lots of different pieces of user feedback saying, hey, I'd like to do this, or hey, is it possible to do this? So if there's anything that doesn't work, this is open source software, and you can take a look at the source code yourself. You can email me. I try to be very responsive in supporting this, and it's really nice to see that people are interested in this and that people are using it, and that it's been used to redistrict and reapportion some districts. So if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask.
Thank you. And if anyone had any questions about the training afterwards, you can email info@redistricting.org, and I'll throw that in the chat as well. But thanks again, John, for the demo. That was really helpful and really cool that you developed this. And I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday.
Great. Thank you for having me.